Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to hear me today with your heart wide open, because what I am about to share will change the way you see your life, your challenges, and your future. Many of us are waiting for a breakthrough. We are praying, we are fasting, we are seeking, and yet the doors seem shut. The opportunities seem locked behind barriers, and we wonder, God, when will you open the door? But let me tell you something, God is not just the opener of doors. He is the giver of keys. Listen carefully. God never locks a door without providing a key. The problem is not that the door won't open. The problem is that many people don't know where their key is. They are crying before a locked door when God has already placed the key within them. The key is in your obedience, in your preparation, in your faith, in your ability to recognize divine timing. And when you use the right key, no force in hell can keep that door shut. I want you to understand that God never opens doors for people who are not ready to walk through them. Some of you are praying for opportunities, but if God were to open the door right now, you would not be ready to handle what's on the other side. A door doesn't just lead to blessings, it leads to responsibility, to challenges, to a new level of faith and wisdom. That's why God doesn't open doors based on your emotions. He opens doors based on your maturity. Stop asking God to open doors and start preparing for when He does. Because the moment you are ready, the door will open effortlessly. No struggle, no force, no begging. When David was anointed king, he didn't rush to the palace. He went back to the field, to the sheep, to his training ground, because the throne would not be his until he was ready. Many people want the throne, but don't want the training. They want the success, but not the process. But the process is what qualifies you for the door to open. Now listen, when God opens the door, you don't knock, you walk. Too many people hesitate when the door finally opens. They doubt themselves. They question if they are really ready. They allow fear to paralyze them at the threshold of their breakthrough. But hear me today. When God says it is time, move. You have been prepared. You have been tested. And you have been proven. Don't let hesitation rob you of what God has already given. And finally, when God opens the door, no man, no system, no enemy, no circumstance can shut it. When He says it is time, the chains will break, the barriers will fall, and what once seemed impossible will become inevitable. So stop doubting, stop questioning, and start positioning yourself. The door to your breakthrough is not in the future, it is already here. Walk in faith, use your key, and step into what God has prepared for you. God never just opens doors, He gives you keys. Many people pray for opportunities, breakthroughs, and open doors, but they fail to realize that God has already provided what they need to access them. He is not in the business of dropping miracles in your lap while you sit idly by waiting for something to happen. No. He operates by principles. And one of His greatest principles is that He provides keys to those who seek Him, who prepare, who develop themselves, and who are ready to act when the moment comes. The key is a symbol of access. If you have the right key, you don't need to struggle with the door, it simply opens. But if you stand in front of a door without a key, it doesn't matter how much you cry, shout, or plead, it will remain shut. This is where many people get stuck. They believe that because they desire something, it should automatically come to them. They think that because they are praying hard, the doors should swing open. But God does not respond to need. He responds to faith, obedience, and preparation. Every locked door has a corresponding key. The issue is never whether the door can open. The issue is whether you possess the right key. Some doors require the key of faith. There are times when God has already placed an opportunity in front of you, but fear keeps you from stepping into it. Faith is the key that unlocks supernatural possibilities. Without faith, the door remains closed. Not because God is withholding your breakthrough, but because you refuse to believe and act upon what He has already provided. Other doors require the key of wisdom. There are people who are anointed, gifted, and talented, but their lack of wisdom keeps doors shut in their lives. Wisdom is the ability to apply knowledge correctly. Some people pray for financial breakthroughs, but they lack the wisdom to manage what God has already given them. Others pray for leadership positions, but they lack the wisdom to navigate relationships and handle responsibilities. Until you gain the wisdom needed for the next level, the door will remain shut. Not because God is against you, but because He loves you too much to give you something you are not ready for. Another key is obedience. There are moments when God instructs you to take a step, make a move, or obey a principle, and your breakthrough is tied to that act of obedience. Naaman, the commander in the Bible, wanted healing from leprosy, but his pride almost kept him from his breakthrough. He wanted God to heal him instantly, but the instruction was to dip in the Jordan River 7 times. He resisted at first because it did not make sense to him, but when he finally obeyed, the door to his healing opened. How many people are standing in front of doors that are locked simply because they refuse to obey divine instructions? God will never open a door for someone who refuses to follow the process He has designed for their growth. Some doors require the key of perseverance. There are breakthroughs that don't come instantly, not because God is withholding them, but because the process of waiting builds the strength you need for the next level. Joseph was given a dream at a young age that he would one day be a ruler, but before he could step into his destiny, he had to endure betrayal, slavery, false accusations, and years in prison. His door did not open immediately because there were things he needed to learn, experiences he needed to go through, and a level of maturity he needed to develop. If God had given him the throne too early, he would not have been able to handle it. Many people quit too soon. They stand before a door, knock a few times, and when it doesn't open immediately, they walk away. But there are doors that require persistence. The woman in the Bible who kept pressing Jesus for healing for her daughter did not give up when she was ignored. She kept knocking, and because of her persistence, the door finally opened. Some doors in life will not open with one prayer, one attempt, or one effort. They require you to keep pressing, keep believing, and keep knocking until the appointed time comes. God has already provided the keys you need, but the question is, are you willing to use them? Too often people blame God for doors that remain shut, when in reality, they are the ones who have failed to recognize and use the keys available to them. A person who refuses to develop their skills cannot blame God when doors of opportunity remain closed. A person who refuses to step out in faith cannot blame God when they fail to experience the miraculous. A person who ignores divine instructions cannot blame God when they do not walk in the fullness of His promises. The kingdom of God operates on principles. And one of those principles is that access is granted to those who are prepared. If you want doors to open in your life, you must ask yourself, have I positioned myself correctly? Have I equipped myself with the right knowledge? Have I developed the discipline, the character, and the maturity needed for the next level? God does not withhold breakthroughs. He releases them to those who are ready to walk in them. Many people spend years standing in front of doors, frustrated and discouraged, thinking that God is ignoring them. But the truth is, the door is waiting for you to use the right key. Some of you have been given ideas, talents, and divine connections that are meant to open doors for you, but because you refuse to act, the door remains closed. Others have been given opportunities but lack the wisdom or discipline to sustain them. So the door shuts again. God does not waste opportunities on unprepared people. If you are serious about stepping into your breakthrough, then it's time to stop waiting and start preparing. When the right key is used, the door opens effortlessly. That is why some people seem to move from glory to glory while others remain stuck. It's not because God favors one person over another. It's because some people understand how to use the keys while others stand before the door hoping for it to magically swing open. The difference between stagnation and breakthrough is often found in one thing: the right key. It is time to stop begging for open doors and start asking for the wisdom, the faith, the obedience, and the discipline to use the keys you already have. Because when you finally use the right key, no force in heaven, on earth, or in hell can keep that door shut. Preparation always comes before open doors. God never promotes a person who is not ready to handle the next level. Many people pray for breakthroughs, but what they do not realize is that every new level requires a greater level of responsibility, wisdom, and character. God does not open doors simply because you want them open. He opens them when you have been prepared to walk through them. Look at the life of Joseph. As a young boy, he had dreams of greatness. He saw visions of himself ruling. But the door to his destiny did not open immediately. Why? Because he was not yet ready. God had to take him through a process of preparation, refining, and testing. He was sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison, not because God had forgotten him, but because God was preparing him. Every experience he went through developed the skills, wisdom, and resilience he would need when he finally stood before Pharaoh. Many people misunderstand delay. They think that if a door has not opened, it means God is saying no. But often delay is not denial, it is preparation. God is working behind the scenes, shaping your character, building your faith, and positioning you for the moment when the door will finally open. A door does not just lead to a blessing, it also leads to a new level of testing. And if you are not ready for it, the very breakthrough you prayed for can become a burden. David was anointed as king when he was just a young shepherd boy. The moment the oil was poured on his head, the door to his kingship was open in the spirit. But in the natural, he had to go through years of preparation before he could step into the throne. He did not go straight to the palace. He went back to the field. He fought lions and bears. He learned how to be a warrior. He faced Goliath. He endured persecution from King Saul. Why? Because the throne was not just about sitting in a position of power. It was about leading with wisdom, integrity, and strength. If David had not been prepared, he would have failed as a king. Some people ask God for financial breakthroughs, but they have not yet learned how to manage money. If God were to open the door to wealth, they would squander it because they lack the discipline to handle it. Others pray for business opportunities, but they have not yet developed the skills to sustain success. If God were to open the door prematurely, they would mismanage the opportunity and lose it. God does not waste his blessings on unprepared vessels. He opens doors when you have proven that you can handle what is on the other side. Your attitude during the waiting season determines how quickly your door will open. Some people complain, get frustrated, and give up when they don't see immediate results. But those who understand God's process embrace the season of preparation. They use the time to sharpen their skills, grow in wisdom, and build their character. They know that when the door finally opens, they must be ready to step in and take full advantage of the opportunity. Look at Moses. He was called to deliver Israel. But before he could step into his assignment, he had to go through 40 years in the wilderness. That was his preparation ground. If Moses had tried to lead Israel without that season of training, he would have failed. The wilderness taught him patience, humility, and dependence on God. Many people want the promised land but do not want the wilderness experience. They want the blessing but not the process. But the process is what qualifies you for the blessing. The same principle applies to the disciples of Jesus. Before they could carry the gospel to the nations, Jesus took them through 3 years of training. They did not just wake up one day and start performing miracles. They sat under his teaching, watched how he ministered, learned how to handle opposition, and developed the faith they would need after his resurrection. Their preparation determined their effectiveness. If Jesus, the Son of God, saw the necessity of preparing his disciples, how much more do we need preparation before we step into our divine assignments? Some people think that as soon as they pray, God should open the door immediately. But what they fail to understand is that unprepared blessings can destroy a person. If a child asks for a car but does not know how to drive, would a loving parent give them the keys? No, because it would put them in danger. In the same way, God withholds certain doors until you are mature enough to handle them. It is not because he is punishing you. It is because he is protecting you. The key to open doors is not just in asking, but in preparing. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. When the vessel is prepared, the oil flows. God is not delaying your breakthrough. He is developing you for it. Your responsibility is to make sure that when the door finally opens, you are not found unprepared. Work on your faith. Develop your skills. Grow in wisdom. Strengthen your character. Because when your moment comes, there will be no time to get ready. You must already be ready. When David faced Goliath, he did not start practicing how to use a sling on the battlefield. He had already trained in private. When Joseph was promoted to the palace, he did not start learning how to manage resources at that moment. He had already developed that skill in Potiphar's house and in prison. Your preparation determines your promotion. Your diligence in the hidden places prepares you for public elevation. Some people see others walking through open doors and wonder why they are still stuck. But the difference is often in the preparation. God is watching how you handle your current level before he opens the next one. Are you faithful with the little you have? Are you diligent in the responsibilities already given to you? Are you growing in wisdom and understanding? Because when the time comes for your breakthrough, it will not be by accident. It will be because you have been found ready. God is a God of principles. He will not violate his own order. If you are waiting for an open door, stop focusing on the door and start focusing on your preparation. Because the moment you are ready, the door will open effortlessly. No begging, no struggling, no forcing it. When the right time comes, nothing in heaven, on earth, or under the earth will be able to keep you from what God has already prepared for you. When God opens the door, you must walk through without hesitation. Too many people stand before an open door and allow fear, doubt, and uncertainty to hold them back. They have prayed for opportunities, fasted for breakthroughs, and sought divine favor. Yet when the moment of manifestation arrives, they hesitate. This hesitation is often rooted in self-doubt, past failures, or the fear of stepping into the unknown. But when God opens a door, it is a divine invitation to step into your destiny. And hesitation can cost you the very thing you have been waiting for. Fear is one of the greatest enemies of breakthrough. Many people allow the fear of failure to paralyze them at the threshold of their next level. They wonder if they are truly ready, if they have what it takes, if they will succeed or be met with opposition. But fear is not from God. The Bible says he has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. When the Israelites stood before the promised land, the door was open. But fear kept an entire generation from entering. Only Joshua and Caleb had the courage to walk through. The rest hesitated, doubted, and ultimately missed their divine appointment. Doubt is another thief of destiny. Some people receive an open door but question if they are truly qualified for the opportunity. They look at their weaknesses, their limitations, their lack of experience, and they begin to disqualify themselves. But when God opens a door, it is not about your ability. It is about his power working through you. Moses tried to disqualify himself when God called him. He said he could not speak well, that he was not the right person, that Pharaoh would not listen. But God reminded him that he was the one who created mouths and gave the ability to speak. When God calls you, he equips you. When he opens the door, he provides the strength, the wisdom, and the grace to walk through it. One of the greatest tragedies is watching someone hesitate until the door closes. Some opportunities are time sensitive. God does not keep doors open forever. There are moments when you must seize what he has placed before you. When Peter saw Jesus walking on water, he had an open door to do the impossible, but he had to act immediately. The moment he obeyed and stepped out, he defied natural laws. But the moment he allowed doubt to creep in, he began to sink. The lesson here is clear. When God gives you an opportunity, step into it with full confidence. The longer you wait, the more doubt will creep in, and the greater the chance that you will miss your moment. Hesitation can also come from the fear of what others will think. Many people do not walk through open doors because they are worried about the opinions of others. They fear criticism, rejection, or losing the approval of those around them. But destiny is not a group assignment. When God opens a door for you, it is not a conference call. He is speaking to you directly. Abraham had to leave his father's house and his familiar surroundings to step into the land God promised him. If he had waited for the approval of those around him, he would have never become the father of nations. When God calls you, there will be times when you must walk alone. Not everyone will understand. Not everyone will support you. But obedience to God is always more important than the opinions of people. Stepping through an open door requires faith. Faith does not wait for all the details to be clear before moving forward. Faith moves, even when things are uncertain, trusting that God will provide, guide, and protect along the way. The reason many people fail to experience breakthroughs is because they want full clarity before they obey. But God often requires you to take the first step before he reveals the rest of the path. The priests of Israel had to step into the Jordan River before the waters parted. If they had waited for the water to dry up first, they would have never crossed. Faith requires action. Walking through an open door also means leaving behind what is familiar. Many people miss their breakthrough because they are unwilling to let go of what is comfortable. But you cannot step into the new while still holding on to the old. Lot's wife looked back and turned into a pillar of salt because she was too attached to where she had been. The Israelites longed for Egypt, even though God was leading them to a land of promise. Too many people pray for open doors, but resist the changes that come with them. When God opens a door, you must be willing to leave behind old habits, old mindsets, and sometimes even old relationships that are not aligned with where he is taking you. Another key to stepping through open doors is having the right mindset. You cannot enter a new level with an old way of thinking. The Israelites who were born in slavery struggled to embrace the reality of freedom because their minds were still trapped in bondage. Even though God had delivered them physically, they still thought like slaves. This is why renewing your mind is essential. When God opens a door, you must step through it with a mindset of victory, confidence, and faith. Many people assume that when God opens a door, there will be no opposition. But often the greatest battles come right before or right after a breakthrough. Just because a door is open does not mean the enemy will not try to discourage you, attack you, or make you second guess yourself. This is why spiritual warfare is necessary. Paul said that a great and effective door had been opened to him, but there were many adversaries. When God promotes you, expect resistance, but do not let opposition make you retreat. If God has opened the door, no enemy can shut it. You must be willing to fight for what is yours. Walking through open doors also requires gratitude and stewardship. When God brings you into a new season, do not take it for granted. Some people receive breakthroughs but become complacent, thinking the door will always remain open. But open doors require responsibility. You must be diligent, disciplined, and committed to making the most of the opportunity God has given you. Your destiny is too important to be delayed by fear, doubt, or hesitation. If you have been praying for a breakthrough, understand that when the door opens, it is time to move. Do not let insecurity rob you of what God has prepared. Do not allow procrastination to keep you stuck. When God gives you an opportunity, walk through it with boldness, knowing that He has already made a way for you. What is waiting for you on the other side is greater than anything you have left behind. Your future is calling. Step through the door and do not look back. When God opens a door for your breakthrough, you must be prepared to handle the challenges that come with it. Many people assume that when a door opens, everything will be easy and effortless. They believe that divine opportunities come without resistance. But the truth is that open doors often come with new battles, greater responsibilities, and unexpected challenges. If you're not ready for these realities, you may misinterpret the difficulty as a sign that you are not in God's will. But the presence of opposition does not mean you're on the wrong path. It often confirms that you are stepping into something significant. Look at the story of the Israelites when they entered the promised land. The land was already theirs because God had given it to them, but they still had to fight battles to possess it. Just because something is promised does not mean it will come without a fight. Many people quit too soon because they expect open doors to come with no effort. But God never gives greatness to those who are unwilling to engage in spiritual warfare, develop their character, or take responsibility for what has been given to them. One of the biggest mistakes people make when walking through an open door is assuming that the battle is over. They celebrate the breakthrough and relax, forgetting that every new level comes with new challenges. David was anointed as king, but he still had to fight Goliath. He was later crowned king, but he still had to deal with rebellion, political struggles, and personal failures. The anointing did not exempt him from battles. It prepared him for them. The same is true for you. When God opens a door, it is not an invitation to sit back and relax. It is a call to rise to a new level of strength, wisdom, and responsibility. Another challenge that comes with open doors is learning how to manage success. Many people pray for financial breakthroughs, but when they receive them, they mishandle what God has given them. Others pray for leadership opportunities, but when the door opens, they lack the discipline to sustain their new position. Success can be just as dangerous as failure if you are not prepared for it. That is why God often delays breakthroughs, not because He is withholding blessings, but because He is developing the maturity needed to sustain them. When Joseph was elevated to the palace, he had to manage an entire nation's resources during a time of famine. If he had not developed the wisdom and discipline in Potiphar's house and in prison, he would not have been able to handle the responsibility of leading Egypt. Many people want their palace moment, but are unwilling to endure the preparation process. They want the reward without the refinement. But if you are not trained in stewardship, wisdom, and integrity, the very door that was meant to bless you can become the door that destroys you. One of the greatest challenges of stepping into a new season is dealing with the jealousy and opposition that comes with it. When God elevates you, not everyone will celebrate you. Some people will question why you received the opportunity and not them. Others will try to discredit you, attack your character, or create obstacles to block your progress. This is why you must develop a strong heart and unwavering faith. If you allow the opinions of people to dictate your actions, you will never fully walk in what God has called you to do. Joseph's own brothers hated him because of the favor that was on his life. David's own brothers mocked him when he stepped forward to fight Goliath. Even Jesus was rejected by his own people. The pattern is clear. When God opens a door, expect opposition. But opposition should not intimidate you. It should confirm that you are walking in something valuable. If what you were stepping into was not significant, the enemy would not fight you so hard. Another challenge that comes with open doors is learning how to navigate the responsibility that comes with greater influence. The higher you go, the more people depend on you. The more success you experience, the more pressure you must handle. Many people pray for elevation, but do not realize that greater levels require greater endurance. Leaders carry the weight of decision-making, responsibility, and accountability. If you are not mentally and spiritually prepared for this, the weight of the blessing can feel like a burden. Look at Solomon. He prayed for wisdom because he understood that ruling a nation required more than just being in the right position. It required the ability to handle the responsibility that came with it. Too many people pray for opportunities without praying for the wisdom, discipline, and patience needed to handle them. But wisdom is the key that sustains an open door. If you do not have wisdom, you can step into a new season and lose it just as quickly. One of the biggest traps after walking through an open door is becoming complacent. Some people assume that because they have entered their breakthrough, they no longer need to grow, learn, or develop themselves. But open doors do not mean you have arrived. They mean you have been given a greater platform to steward. The moment you stop growing, you begin declining. Samson was anointed with supernatural strength, but he became careless with his calling. He assumed that because he had won battles in the past, he would always win. He neglected his spiritual life, made reckless decisions, and eventually lost his strength. His downfall was not because of a lack of opportunity. It was because he failed to sustain what God had given him. When God opens a door, he expects you to steward it with diligence. That means continuing to seek him, continuing to grow in wisdom, and continuing to develop yourself. It means staying humble, remaining teachable, and never assuming that you have arrived. Too many people lose what God gave them because they fail to nurture and protect it. Stepping through an open door is not just about receiving a blessing. It is about maintaining it, multiplying it, and using it for God's glory. It is about being faithful with what he has entrusted to you so that he can open even greater doors in the future. When you prove that you can handle one level well, God can trust you with the next. Do not be deceived. Just because a door is open does not mean the journey will be easy, but the challenges that come with your breakthrough are not meant to break you. They are meant to build you. They are designed to refine you, strengthen you, and prepare you for even greater things. When God opens a door, he has already equipped you to handle everything that comes with it. You must walk through it with faith, wisdom, and an unshakable commitment to stewardship. Your breakthrough is not just about you. It is about the people you will impact, the lives you will change, and the kingdom purpose you are meant to fulfill. Do not shrink back because of challenges. Do not retreat because of opposition. Do not become careless because of success. Stand firm, walk boldly, and steward your breakthrough well, because what God has given you is not just an opportunity, it is an assignment. When God opens a door for your breakthrough, it is not for your benefit alone. Every breakthrough carries a purpose beyond personal success, and it is connected to something greater than you. Many people desire open doors for their own comfort, status, or financial gain, but they fail to realize that God blesses people so that they can become a blessing. If you view your breakthrough as only for yourself, you will miss the full power of what God is trying to do through you. Look at Joseph. His breakthrough was not just about him, God elevated him to a position of influence in Egypt, but the purpose was not for him to simply enjoy power. It was to save nations from famine. If Joseph had seen his breakthrough as just a personal victory, he would have missed the reason why God opened the door in the first place. Many people fail to experience sustained breakthroughs because they make the mistake of thinking it is about them. But when God opens a door, he has a bigger vision in mind. Your breakthrough is designed to impact others. If you receive financial increase, it is not just for you to live comfortably. It is so that you can be a source of provision for others. If God promotes you in your career, it is not just to make your name great. It is to influence and lead with integrity. If God opens doors in ministry, it is not for personal fame. It is to serve and transform lives. When you understand that your breakthrough is not just for you, you begin to handle it with greater responsibility. One of the greatest dangers of stepping into breakthrough is selfishness. When people reach new levels of success, some forget where they came from. They forget the prayers they once prayed. They forget the struggles they endured. They forget the people who helped them along the way. But God does not open doors for people who only think about themselves. He opens doors for those who will be faithful stewards, who will use their blessings to make a difference in the world. Solomon is a powerful example of someone who understood the weight of his breakthrough. When he became king, he did not ask God for riches, fame, or power. He asked for wisdom. Because he understood that his elevation was not just about him, it was about leading a nation. Because his heart was aligned with purpose, God gave him more than he asked for. This principle still applies today. When you align your breakthrough with God's purpose, he will give you more than you imagine. Another reason why God gives breakthroughs is to display his glory. When he opens a door for you, it is a testimony of his power, not just your effort. This is why it is important to always acknowledge God when you walk into new opportunities. Some people take credit for their success, forgetting that it was God who opened the door in the first place. But when you remain humble and continually give God the glory, he will keep opening greater doors. God is looking for people he can trust with breakthroughs. He is looking for those who will not be consumed by pride, greed, or selfishness. He is looking for those who will use their blessings to build his kingdom and uplift others. When you show God that you can be faithful with small things, he will trust you with greater things. Every breakthrough is a test, and how you handle one season determines what God will do in the next. Never make the mistake of thinking your breakthrough is just about you. It is bigger than you, and it is connected to something eternal. When God opens a door, step through it with a heart of service, a mindset of stewardship, and a commitment to use your blessings for his glory. The more you align with his purpose, the more he will continue to elevate you, because he knows you will use what he gives you for something greater than yourself. When God opens the door to your breakthrough, it is not by accident, nor is it simply for your personal gain. Every open door is an invitation to step into a greater purpose, a higher level of responsibility, and a deeper walk with him. But the key to sustaining your breakthrough is recognizing that it requires faith, action, and unwavering trust in God's plan. Too many people stand at the threshold of opportunity and hesitate, allowing fear, doubt, or complacency to rob them of what God has prepared. Others walk through but fail to steward the blessing, forgetting that every breakthrough comes with challenges, responsibilities, and the need for continued dependence on God. Your breakthrough is not just for you. It is connected to the lives of others, to the destiny God has ordained, and to the impact he desires to make through you. When you step into your new season, do not become complacent. Do not shrink back in fear, and do not forget the God who opened the door. Walk in obedience. Steward what he has given you well, and remain humble, knowing that every open door is a divine assignment. The greatest doors are not those that lead to personal success alone, but those that lead to transformation, influence, and the fulfillment of God's will. Step forward with boldness and trust that if God has opened the door, no one can shut it.